Steelers Nation, welcome back to the channel. The Pittsburgh Steelers are always striving for greatness, and at 8-2, the results are speaking for themselves. But to keep that momentum rolling, every detail matters, from injuries to strategy, to finding the best way to use our star players. Today, we're diving into two big storylines, the latest on Alex Highsmith's injury status and how Arthur Smith's offensive scheme is shaping up in 2024. We'll also talk about how these factors could determine the Steelers' path to glory this season. Before we break it all down, make sure to smash that like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date with everything Steelers. Let's get into it. The Steelers are gearing up for a critical Week 12 matchup against the Cleveland Browns, but there's one big question on everyone's mind. Will Alex Highsmith play? Highsmith, who missed Week 11 against the Ravens due to an ankle injury, has been officially ruled out for the second straight game. According to the Steelers' final injury report, Highsmith didn't practice all week and remains sidelined as he continues his recovery. This marks the fifth game he's missed this season, and his absence creates both challenges and opportunities for the defense. Head coach Mike Tomlin left the door slightly open earlier in the week, saying there was a slim chance Highsmith could suit up. However, as the days progressed, it became clear that the team would need to rely on other players in his stead. In Highsmith's absence, Nick Herbig and Preston Smith have taken on increased roles. Last week against Baltimore, Herbig logged 50 snaps compared to Smith's 17. Tomlin praised Herbig's effort and conditioning, noting that the team's ability to sustain long offensive drives made it easier to manage defensive rotations. "We were getting off the field," Tomlin said. Herbig's conditioning, or lack thereof, wasn't as compromised because of those things, and it made the divvying of the reps a less significant discussion, to be quite honest with you. As for Smith, Tomlin remains optimistic about his growing involvement in the defense. "Every day is an opportunity to get better," Tomlin added. "We're building upon the foundation we've already laid, and I'm excited to see how they contribute as the season progresses." Herbig's energy and Smith's experience will be crucial against a Browns team looking to make a statement. But Steelers Nation knows Highsmith's absence is a significant loss, especially considering his ability to create pressure and disrupt opposing offenses. While the defense adapts to life without Highsmith, the offense has its own challenges. After a disappointing 2023 season, the Steelers brought in Arthur Smith as offensive coordinator, hoping he could revitalize the unit. On paper, the changes have worked. The Steelers' offense has been more consistent, thanks in large part to the arrival of veteran quarterback Russell Wilson. Wilson has brought stability and leadership, going 4-0 since taking over as the starter. But not everything has been perfect, and one issue stands out, the underutilization of Pat Freiermuth. Freiermuth, who showed promise as a rookie catching passes from Ben Rothberger, has struggled to find a consistent role in Arthur Smith's offense. Through 10 games, Freiermuth has managed just 31 catches for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns, far below expectations for a player of his talent. Steelers insider Mark Kaboly recently weighed in on the situation during an interview on 93.7 The Fan. He acknowledged Freiermuth's potential but questioned the offensive scheme's ability to maximize his impact. "If you look at one thing with Russell, Arthur Smith, and this offense that you have to question, it's the inability to get Freiermuth more involved," Kaboly said. "Pretty much everybody else on that offense has found a niche, and I don't think Freiermuth has found that yet." Kaboly went on to suggest that the blame doesn't rest solely on Freiermuth. He pointed to Smith's offensive scheme, which spreads opportunities among multiple tight ends, as a factor in limiting Freiermuth's production. The Steelers' offense has shown flashes of brilliance this season, but as the schedule gets tougher, they'll need to find new ways to keep defenses guessing. Freiermuth's ability to create mismatches should make him a focal point in the passing game. Kaboly believes the coaching staff must take responsibility for the lack of involvement. "I think it's getting to the point where you can be critical of whether it's Russell, Tomlin, or Smith, whoever is responsible for not getting him more involved because he is that talented," Kaboly said. Smith's reputation for utilizing tight ends effectively is part of what made him an attractive hire, but so far, that hasn't translated into consistent opportunities for Freiermuth. Steelers fans are eager to see this change, especially as the team prepares for the critical back half of the season. This week's matchup against Cleveland is pivotal. A win would move the Steelers to 9-2, further solidifying their status as contenders. But a loss could cast doubt over the team's momentum as they approach the most challenging stretch of the season. Wilson, who is coming off his toughest performance yet in a narrow victory over Baltimore, will need to bounce back quickly on a short week. The Browns, despite their struggles, have the talent to cause problems, and the Steelers can't afford to overlook them. Pittsburgh's defense is dominating, and special teams have been clutch. Shout out to Chris Boswell for yet another MVP performance. But let's be real, winning 18-16 by kicking 6 field goals isn't sustainable, especially when the offense fails to score a single touchdown. That's exactly what happened in Week 11 against the Baltimore Ravens. While it's great to see Boswell delivering under pressure, fans are understandably frustrated that the offense couldn't find the end zone. The Steelers had 4 trips to the red zone and came away with just 3 field goals. Russell Wilson even threw an interception in the end zone. This isn't a new problem. Red zone efficiency has been a concern all season, and former Steelers legend Ben Roethlisberger thinks he might have a solution. On his podcast, Footballin' with Ben Roethlisberger, the 2-time Super Bowl champion proposed a creative fix, using Justin Fields as a red zone specialist. "I love bringing him in for that," Roethlisberger said. "What about bringing Fields in the red zone a little bit? Just to utilize his legs. We know he's got, I think, 5 touchdowns this year. Why not mix it up?" It's an intriguing idea. Fields started 6 games earlier this season while Wilson was recovering from injury, leading the team to a solid 4-2 record. His mobility brought a different dynamic to the offense, and his ability to run adds a wrinkle that defenses have to account for. In fact, all 5 of Fields' rushing touchdowns this season came inside the red zone. That's exactly the kind of production Pittsburgh has been missing. For the first time since Wilson returned as the starter, we saw a glimpse of a Justin Fields package in Week 11. Fields came in for a few snaps, running the ball twice for 17 yards. While his opportunities were limited, the plays were effective and gave the Ravens' defense something extra to think about. But can this strategy be scaled up? Roethlisberger and others believe Fields' athleticism and versatility make him an ideal weapon for red zone situations. Not only can he tuck the ball and run, but he's also capable of throwing, which keeps the defense guessing. As exciting as it sounds, implementing a Fields package isn't without its challenges. Former Steelers backup Charlie Batch weighed in, pointing out the difficulties of coming off the bench for just a handful of plays. "It's hard to stay warm and loose on the sidelines," Batch explained. "Fields sat for over an hour before being called in on the last drive of the game. That's not an easy position to be in." Consistency is another concern. Fields' role would be highly situational, which might limit his ability to find a rhythm. There's also the issue of predictability. Defenses could quickly figure out what's coming if the package becomes too reliant on designed quarterback runs or read option plays. It's worth noting that Russell Wilson has been solid overall since taking over as the starter. He's 4-0 and has brought stability to the offense. But even Wilson would probably admit that his red zone performance needs improvement. Wilson's interception in the end zone against Baltimore was a costly mistake, and the lack of touchdowns is a glaring issue for a team with championship aspirations. Incorporating Fields in specific situations might not only help the offense but also take some of the pressure off Wilson. With the Steelers sitting at 8-2, the stakes couldn't be higher. Pittsburgh has a legitimate shot at securing the AFC North and making a deep playoff run. But as the competition gets tougher, every weakness will be magnified. The red zone struggles aren't just frustrating, they're potentially season-defining. In games against high-powered offenses or during the playoffs, field goals often won't be enough to get the job done. That's why this conversation about Fields is so important. If he can provide even a small boost in the red zone, it could be the difference between a divisional round exit and a Super Bowl appearance. Steelers Nation, there's a lot to unpack this week. From Alex Highsmith's injury status to the ongoing development of our offense under Arthur Smith, it's clear that every decision matters as we chase another Lombardi trophy. But now, we want to hear from you. How do you feel about Nick Herbig and Preston Smith stepping up in Highsmith's absence? Do you think Arthur Smith needs to make Freiermuth a bigger part of the offense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive Steelers content. As always, here we go, Steelers.